Good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, whenever you might be watching this. Hello, I am happy to be with you again. Isn't it so weird? Like, I'm in your home on your screen. Like, who'd ever thought we would be able to do this? And while it is stinky that we are having to do this still, I feel like you guys are absolutely rocking this. We're making the best of the situation. As evidenced by your activities, you guys are really learning some stuff and showing off how smart you are. So keep up the great work. We got a fresh new week. You know, I love Mondays. So we're going to get right to it this Monday. So our skill that we're going to be, our ELA skill we're going to be working on for this week is going to be kind of the structure of a story. The past several weeks, we've focused mainly on nonfiction text with real, true facts and information about a topic. And we're going to switch gears this week into fiction, which with fiction stories, we're going to analyze the structure of that story. So we're going to be looking at things like the characters, the setting, the problem or the conflict and the solution. We're going to be looking at the purpose, the author's purpose of the beginning, middle, and end. So stuff like that we're going to be talking about on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of this week. Of course, Friday is going to be our writing day where we're going to revisit that Hey Little Ant opinion writing again. I can't wait. And then our Wednesday grammar skill this week is going to be adjectives. So we've got a great week lined up. I'm excited to spend it with you. So let's jump right in. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint real quick. All right. And again, this is your Monday, April 27th ELA guided video lesson. Can you believe April 27th? Like it's practically May. Friday is May. This is crazy. All right. So let's look at these different story elements that I want to review with you. Some of you have already seen this exact slide. I'm sure you all remember talking about this with your teacher. We talked about it both before and after Christmas. So we're going to focus right now on our characters, our setting, our problem, and our solution of a story. And we're thinking mostly in terms of a fiction made-up story. So keep that in mind right now. So your characters, of course, are the people, the animals, or the things in a story who are kind of running the show, the people who are in the story, who the story is about. And then the setting is where and sometimes when the story takes place. It can be more than one setting in a story, of course. And then our problem is what goes wrong in the story or how the character is challenged, what the challenges are trying to overcome. A word that you'll sometimes hear for problem is conflict. So whenever you hear problem and conflict, know that those mean the same thing. So the conflict or the problem is what's going wrong. What happened in the story that's challenging the characters. And then the solution is the happy ending, how the problem was fixed, or how the problem was solved. And just like stories can have more than one setting, they can have more than one problem and solution. Oftentimes when you read longer chapter books, like I know a series that I really got into this school year was the Land of Stories series. Shout out to my Land of Stories friends. The books are so good. There's multiple problems and solutions in that story. Some in the beginning, some in the middle, and then usually one big one that we wrap up at the end. So if we look at these little pictures right here, we've got this boy named Hudson and his dog Max. So Hudson and Max would be our characters in this little made up story. The setting looks like a house, so we can probably predict or infer that that would be Hudson and Max's house. And then the problem down here is that Max is missing. So what went wrong in the story was the dog, Max, is missing. And then the solution, how Hudson solved the problem, was he put up signs everywhere and then hopefully eventually found his dog. So that's character setting, problem, and solution. All right, so now we're going to focus on review the beginning, the middle, and the end of a text. Okay, so the beginning of a story is usually the author uses the beginning to tell us how the story begins. He or she usually introduces the characters and usually introduces the setting. Now, every once in a while, you will get introduced to the problem of the story in the beginning, but that typically comes in that middle part there. So the beginning is where the author is just kind of introducing you to everything. Here's our characters in the story. Here's where the story takes place. We're just getting the story started, okay? And then in the middle of the story, the author is giving us the problem. We're usually, okay, we know who's in the story. We know where the story takes place. Now we're in the middle. This is the meat of the story, the meat of the burger. And this is where we hit our problem. This is what's gone wrong and the different details of what's going wrong. In the middle also, the author will tell you the problem, what went wrong, and the details could include steps to solving the problem. So I know I lost my dog. Here's what I'm going to do to try to solve my problem. And at the end, we'll wrap it up. So the middle is really where we get the problem and the details of that problem. Okay, and then the end here is the kind of wraps it up, like putting the bow on the Christmas present. It tells us how the problem was solved and how the story ends. So I learned about my characters. I was introduced to the setting and everything in the beginning. Then in the middle, we hit that conflict, go to the top, oh, we're at the top, and then see how the roller coaster goes down. At the end, our problem is solved and the story ends. Okay? All right, so just a quick review. Beginning starts the story, tells us the characters in the setting. The middle is the meat where we have that problem and the different details or steps about how we try to solve our problem. And then the end wraps up and tells us how the problem was solved, how it ends, and kind of wraps it all up. Big happy ending most of the time. Some stories don't though. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna hop over to Epic together and we're gonna watch a video of this book called The Paper Bag Princess. And as we're going through and reading this book, I want you to think about those all of those things that we just talked about. I want you to think about who the characters are. I want you to think about where the setting takes place. I want you to think about the problem. I want you to think about the solution. I want you to think about the main key details that happen in the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I'm going to kind of stop this book as we're listening to it. And we're going to pretend you're sitting on the rug in my classroom and we're in a little book club and we're going to have just a little book chat together about this. So those are the things we're listening for. Character setting, problem and solution, the beginning, middle, and end. All of those things that we just talked about, okay? So I'm going to hop on over here to Epic, and this is a video on Epic, like I just said. So if you want to hop back on, I know everyone has Epic on their school iPads, I think. You can hop on over to Epic and just search Paper Bag Princess. It's not like an actual book, it's in the videos for some reason. So if you'd like to listen to it again, you can either just replay it from here on this video or hop on Epic, okay? All right, here we go.
Dreamscape presents The Paper Bag Princess. Story by Robert N. Munch. Illustrations by Michael Marchenko.
So remember, good readers, before they even start reading a book, they can analyze the cover, take a picture walk through the book, and make different predictions and inferences about what they think the story is going to be about. So already I can tell that this is probably going to be a fiction text. I don't really think that dragons wear bandanas or are real and open up doors. And so I can infer based on that this is a fiction text. So the author's purpose in writing this for us is probably just to entertain us with a fun story. The title, Paper Bag Princess. Paper bags and princesses don't really go together. She doesn't really look like a princess to me on here. She kind of has a little wonky crown on. Something that I noticed was really interesting to me was down at the bottom there. Do you guys see all those bones underneath the dragon? So I can infer that he must be eating something, and she looks a little startled with her hands to be seeing this dragon. So we could go ahead and predict that this dragon and the princess are probably going to be two of our main characters in our story. We don't know that for sure, but remember, good readers analyze things like this and think about them before they start reading the book. All right, here we go.
Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald.
Elizabeth, who we've learned now is one of our main characters, looks a little different here than she did on the front of that book. So we've got, we've already been introduced to two characters here. We've got Elizabeth and then the prince that she's going to marry named Ronald. Now she looks like she is in love. She looks happy. And he doesn't look so happy. He kind of looks a little snooty with his nose turned up, and he doesn't look as interested in her as she does in him. So, wonder if that's going to be important for us to remember.
Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle,
Oh no.
burned all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back.
So we've kind of hit the middle-ish of our story, I feel like now. So in the beginning, we learned Elizabeth and Ronald were our main characters, and we learned that the setting was probably in this castle, somewhere in a land where she lived in a castle because she was a princess. And now we've kind of hit our problem. Our problem is this dragon came along, right, and burned down all of her clothes and everything. So she has to wear this old ratted paper bag, and she took Ronald. And based on how we looked at her in the beginning of the story, she loves her some Ronald. So this is definitely a big problem for her.
She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag.
How did that not burn?
So she put on the paper bag and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forests and horses' bones.
Oh, there's the bones.
Finally, Elizabeth
here we go.
came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I am a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught.
So we know the problem right now is that the dragon took Ronald. And Elizabeth is trying to solve her problem of getting Ronald back, but we don't exactly know how yet. All we know is she has gone to this cave where the dragon lives. She knocked with the big old knocker. The dragon came out and was like, "I'm busy. I don't have time for you." So we don't exactly know how the details of her trying to solve her problem yet.
Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I am a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Wait," shouted Elizabeth.
Here we go.
"Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" "Yes," said the dragon. "Is it true," said Elizabeth, "that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon. And
So what is Elizabeth doing? She's kind of like building him up and making him feel really good about himself. Like, is it true you're the best dragon? Is it true that you can do that? Oh, dragon, you are so powerful. You are so good at doing all of these things. Why do you think she's doing that? If you want to hit pause for a second and think about it, what is she trying to do? What's her game here? What is she trying to get to happen by making this dragon feel all big and proud about himself?
Took a huge, deep breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 50 forests.
Whoa. I'm glad this isn't real.
"Fantastic," said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 100 forests.
Wow.
"Magnificent," said.
How do you think the dragon is going to feel after taking these huge fiery breaths? He burned up 50 forests and then he burned up 100 forests. Do you think he's going to be like, "Okay, what's next?" Or, "When I take several deep breaths, it makes me feel kind of lightheaded and I get a little woozy." So do you think that maybe the dragon's going to get, how do you think the dragon's going to feel? Let's see.
Said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath.
Another one.
But this time nothing came out.
Uh-oh.
The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds?
That's fast."
"Why, yes," said the dragon, and jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic! Do it again."
Uh-oh. What's she
So the
trying to
dragon
do?
jumped up and flew around the whole world
Ooh.
in just 20 seconds.
How does the dragon look in this picture to you? He just flew. He burned down 50 forests. He burned down 100 forests. He ran around the world in 10 seconds. He ran around the world in 20 seconds. Look at him in this picture. Do you think that she was trying to get him to look kind of tired and worn out? And why? Why do you think she was trying to do that? You can always pause this video if you want to stop and think out loud for a second. I think I'm starting to understand how she's trying to solve her problem. What about you?
When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he lay down and went straight to sleep.
Uh-oh.
Elizabeth whispered very softly,
Look up there at the top.
"Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move at all. She lifted up the dragon's ear and put her head right inside. She shouted as loud as she could, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired he didn't even move.
So our problem was that the dragon took Ronald, and Elizabeth was trying to solve the problem by going to get Ronald from the dragon's castle. Elizabeth, the details of her trying to solve that problem we see now is that she kind of tricked the dragon and made the dragon do all of these crazy things like burning down forests and running around the world to get the dragon to go to sleep so she could go save Ronald from the castle. I love the ending of this story though, because it is not what you would expect. So we could predict that Elizabeth's going to run into the castle. She's going to grab Ronald. Ronald's going to finally realize how much he loves her, and they're going to live happily ever after. Or are they? Let's see.
Elizabeth walked right over the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes. Your hair is all tangled, and you are wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you are dressed like a real princess." "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty, and your hair is very neat."
So Ronald was just really mean to her. She went through all this trouble, followed the trail from the dragon, tricked the dragon into going to sleep so she could save Ronald. And all he had to say was how she looked like a mess. She smelled funny. Her hair was crazy. What do you think she's going to do next? So she said, Ronald, your clothes are really pretty. Your hair is really neat. Let's see.
"Clothes are really pretty, and your hair is very neat. You look like a real prince. But you were a bum." They didn't get married after all.
So she just left him there and said, "See you later. You're not going to be nice to me after all that trouble. I'll see you later." I love the ending of that. You look nice. You are a sweet prince, but you are a bum. I thought that was such a funny ending. So she did solve her problem. She got to Ronald, but then how the story ended was not like we expected, did it? I love the ending of that. Okay, so I'm going to hop back over here, and I will give you guys that quiz number here at the end of our lesson today. So let's just talk really quickly. We talked about this throughout the story already, but let's just review. So who are the characters in this story? Our main characters in the beginning we learned were Prince Ronald. And also, if you want to pause this video after I put up each question and see if you can give the answers and then listen to me give the answers to see if we're on the same page, you totally can, just for a little bit harder practice, or you can always just stick along and hang out here with me. So Prince Ronald, Princess Elizabeth, and then this dragon were our three main characters in our story. Okay, so what's the problem in the story? The problem was the dragon came along, blew up the castle with the fire, and took Prince Ronald. So Prince Ronald has been taken and is missing. That's our problem. Okay, in the setting of the story, kind of more than one setting. We started out in that castle, but then a majority of our story took place at the dragon's cave, where she tricked the dragon and finally got to Ronald. Okay, so what happened at the beginning of the story? And again, we want to focus on key details, the main thing that happened in the beginning of the story. So in the beginning of the story, the author introduced our characters and our setting, kind of set the stage for the whole story. And then in the middle of the story, the dragon comes and burns down the castle and takes Ronald away. This is where we hit our problem. And Elizabeth goes through different steps. Those details would be she goes through different steps to try to trick the dragon and rescue Ronald from the dragon. All right. And then the end of the story is where the problem is solved and the author kind of wraps everything up and ends it. She solved the problem. She tricked the dragon to go to sleep and she was able to get to Ronald, but then he was kind of a snooty bum and she said, never mind, I don't want to marry you after all. All right. So when you're ready, if you'd like to rewind this video and listen to us read it together again, you can, or you can just hop on Epic and watch the video yourself. Here's the quiz number 8032 when you're ready to take that AR quiz. And then your final thing for today for ELA is to hop on over to Seesaw, and you've got this story called Stuck in the Mud. I love baseball, and I'm so sad that baseball is kind of all on hold right now. It's kind of weird. Like, this is baseball softball season. So I picked a passage about baseball because I love it. And so you've got a 3-paragraph story about baseball, and then you're asked 4 questions here. I recommend pressing that T text box and then just typing your answers in under each card. So you've got A, B, C, and D cards. That little space next to the baseball field, I would just press the T button and put a text box next to that to answer your questions, just to make it fit best you can. So, all right, guys, wonderful job today. I had a wonderful time reading that book with you. It was a funny ending, wasn't it? So I will see you guys back here tomorrow where we're going to do some more practice on story structure. So work hard on your activity, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.